All right, this is Dinking Around. I'm your host, Brant Weiss, with my darling co-host, Charles Darling. God, I just
had a hard time getting
ruined.
that.
I can't talk today. I haven't eaten. I'm doing a fast, and I think it's just messing with my brain. Charles, how are we doing today? I feel like I don't ask you that enough.
I'm excited today. My favorite player from the Arizona Pickleball League is with us today, so I'm excited to learn from him, hear more about him. But he was a blast to watch at the AZ Pickleball League.
Guys, we have Michael Loyd with us today. He is ranked number 9 in men's singles and number 47, I believe, in men's doubles, according to some website, pickleballtournaments.com. I don't even know if you knew that, Michael.
I did not know.
Okay, well, that's what
they might be messing that up, dude.
That's what I found out on Google.
Yeah, I have no clue. I think the only ones that I've ever looked at were like the PPA Tour, and I'm like somewhere 35-ish.
We're just going to go with pickleballtournaments.com.
I like what they got better.
Yeah.
They got me ranked higher, so I'll take that.
Guys, Michael was a part of the Arizona Pickleball League. He's a guy who was electric on the court, and I have to admit, I was very hesitant on him at first, as Charles knows. But man, after watching you play, I couldn't help but like you. You're intense on the court. You are arguably the best player out there. I'm excited to have you in here. I just kind of want you to tell your story. How did you get into pickleball? What's the deal with it?
Yeah, sure. I was actually kind of talking to Kyle from the league the other day, where I was like, I ran into pickleball so many times, but like never got like into it. And I'm from Texas originally, so I guess I'll start there. But like in Texas, like pickleball is a part of like the PE curriculum and stuff like that. So I played that a handful of times in middle school, like with a wooden paddle on a gym floor. Had no idea it was called pickleball. I was just whacking a ball around.
Yeah.
So like kind of messed around with it really, really early on, and then just had random times where it like crossed my path, and I never really got into it. And then 2020 during the pandemic was when I like really started playing it seriously. My ex-girlfriend's dad was like obsessed with the sport, and he showed me it, and we were literally playing in the middle of a pandemic, like in the apartment complex with like chalk down lines and a temporary net. And I was just playing pickleball and didn't really know, where it was going to take me. And then I guess I moved out to Phoenix in the fall of 2020 and ended up getting connected with Head Pickleball. They offered me a sponsorship while I was still playing college tennis. And I was like, okay, like I'll definitely, take this seriously as soon as I get out. And then I graduated 2021, spring of 2021. And then from there, I was just training until I felt like I was kind of ready to just hop on the pro scene. I kind of skipped over like amateur tournaments and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then I think it was October of 2022 when I just like full sent it, started playing pro tournaments. And then I think I still haven't even played like a dozen pro tournaments yet. But
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So still fairly early in the game right now. But I think Newport next weekend will be like my 11th tournament.
Oh, you're playing in it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's ride. Now, when you say you just jumped to the pro scene, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, for anybody that like wants to get into pro, the first thing you have to do is just sign up for the tournament. You're not going to have a ranking or anything like that, so you're going to have to go through qualifying. Depending on if it's like an APP or a PPA, it might be set up differently. But the one that I went to was PPA Vegas, and so they had their draw set up to where you would qualify the morning of the event. Luckily, made it through the events and then got in, played, I can't even remember who it was in my first round match. Actually, it was Zach Grabovich, who at the time was like a top 30 PPA player.
Okay.
Beat him, and then lost to Stacksrud before he was like really established. I mean, he was still like a stud at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think he wasn't like at the very top of the game yet. He was still like hovering around like top 20 or something like that. And yeah, that was my first tournament experience. And then from then I've just been, playing a tournament or two a month, whatever work allows. And then just kind of slowly trying to grind and make my way up the ranks.
Now, being a former tennis player, I imagine it was pretty easy for you to pick up pickleball relatively quickly, being another racket sport. Is your passion for pickleball the same as tennis, or? do you prefer tennis more still, or just see the opportunity with pickleball? I don't know if you're picking up what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they're different, even though there's so many similarities.
Yeah.
For me, like I was playing tennis. I started really late. I started at like 14 years old. So like relative to like a lot of my friends who were starting, 6 or 8, by the time I got to 14 years old playing tennis, they were already like well established, had national rankings and all this other stuff, and I was just getting into it. But a lot of them, I think, like in talking to them, they grew up playing with the intent of like, oh, I want to go pro, like that's the whole goal. For me, tennis was always a path to like college. Like I wanted to go play college tennis. I wanted to be on a team. I wanted to be with like a brotherhood, and that was what like attracted me to tennis. And so junior tennis for me was actually like kind of just a means to an end. I didn't really enjoy like the grind of it. Like you're an individual, it's stressful. I grew up playing like basketball and football and like that, those were like my first sports. And I just did it with like the goal of making college tennis. So once I got there, college tennis is amazing. It's one of my favorite things ever. Like it's crazy to do something like as an individual, but it means something for the team, similar to like the Arizona Pickleball League. And I just really, really enjoy like the team format. And so college tennis to me right now is still like my favorite thing as a body of work that I've done. But then getting to be in like team events in pickleball so far, like Arizona Pickleball League, that's been like the mecca for me. So that's like the thing that I think kind of, to make a short answer long, pickleball at that aspect, like that's where my passion is. Well, like getting to the team event.
I just think it's amazing you're where you're at right now starting so late, because it is a huge advantage, especially with a sport like tennis, in my opinion, where it's so nuanced and technical. Like you just have to be a raw athlete to do what you did at 14, and now you're playing in pro tournaments. You're successful in them. I think that's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like looking back at it, it just feels like, there's a weird path, like not a traditional path in any sense of it, but it's like God put me in the right spots at all the right times to like end up where I needed to be. And I mean, I think being a tennis player compared to some other backgrounds is like a huge advantage. Like there's a lot of times where like I make an error and like immediately, like because of the racket sports background, like I have instant feedback as to like, oh, I know what I'm feeling, even though it's pickleball versus tennis. Like I'm missing a dink wide and I know it's because of like a certain, like, okay, like I missed that ball wide. I was actually early to it. That's the reason why I missed it.
Yeah.
And like to have that instant feedback and know how to make adjustments, I think is like super critical. Whereas like somebody that doesn't have that background, where I've talked to those guys that like, they came directly from soccer, directly from basketball, and they're like, "Dude, why is my ball going? 5
Dude,
feet
I just try to keep it in play, man." And I've seen you play, so I don't know your excuse. Now, you touched on the team aspect of college tennis. You were a part of the Arizona Pickleball League this year. What was your experience? It was a first-year organization. It was a startup. How did you like how that league went?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're in something like where it's inaugural season, there's going to be like some hiccups along the way. Something I really applaud like Ashley and Pat for is just like making adjustments as they went along. And I think, we're going to probably see even more adjustments in season 2. But as a whole, I had such a good experience. Like it's crazy to be in that like intimate of environment with like that many people packed in and like just there to watch me play pickleball. This game that I was literally starting out playing either on a gym floor when I was 14 or 12 to 13, and then, really started playing on a concrete slab with pink chalk, So it's crazy that like, that's where I started. Now I have people coming watching me, people saying that I'm their favorite player in the league, which thank you. That's awesome. But also it's cool just like being at a random park or going to tournaments and people like recognizing you from like, hey, you're that guy like on Arizona Pickleball League. Like you're the one on like the Pythons, and then like actually them making that connection. Like that's a really cool, like humbling feeling to like be a part of something that big.
Yeah. My next question with that is, did you, dude, I just blacked out for a second. Yo, this
Can't
fast
talk,
is crazy.
blacking out. Maybe you should.
Well, I was trying to let
something
you
different. Podcast might not be good.
I was trying to let you get a few words in.
No, I knew you were going to botch that, so it was good for everyone. Let's talk about work real quick.
Yeah.
You work within the sport.
Yeah.
Did your relationship with Head start in tennis? I know that they offered you the pickleball sponsorship while you were still doing tennis. When did you start? Tell us about what you do for them. Tell us about how that relationship came about.
Yeah, so that's been a cool ride. I actually Got connected with him, got sponsored. I believe it was in 2020, and it was straight through pickleball, not through tennis or anything like that. And then I had reached out to people at Head and just like told them I was like, hey, like I'm actually getting my master's in business administration. Like it's my long term goal to like work for a company, and like if you guys ever have any openings. And then eventually they did have some openings. I got an internship with them. Did that for about 9 months, and then I got offered my old position, which was the basically the product manager for pickleball, racquetball, squash, and padel, which is really cool. Kind of getting to work on things, basically the conception of a paddle all the way to getting it on a shelf, and like anything and everything that comes between. Working with the R&D team, working with the graphics, and doing all that stuff was really, really cool. And then we actually just transitioned me into a new role a couple of months ago, where now I'm our grassroots manager. So I'm in charge of all of our sponsorships with like our pro players, the events,
That's great.
venues or anything like that. And so that's been really cool because it's also just allowed me to kind of use some just other skill sets that I've had. Like I think I'm pretty personable, and I like to make those connections. And so getting out in the pickleball community and networking and getting to just hear from other people and try to build connections has been really, really cool for me, not just as a job, but also just something that I'm super interested in already. So
yeah, I feel like that's nice. Sorry, I'm back in tune. I'm not blacked out anymore. I feel like that's really nice in the sense when you're a pro pickleball player, I imagine you're also working another full-time job. And finding the balance between both of those things, I imagine, would be very difficult. So it's nice that you're in the same industry where they're probably very understanding of you taking the time to practice and do what you need to do to get ready for these tournaments. How often do you spend practicing a week?
So that's actually something I've like picked up here pretty recently, just trying to get myself like in the best physical shape possible, also getting as many reps as possible. But I'm probably practicing, I'd say like 10 to 12 different sessions a week, multiple two-a-days throughout the week. And then I'm trying to do on-court fitness at the end of like half of those sessions, where like I'll those like the single sessions, like the fun thing that I'll do is like whoever I'm playing, like whatever the differential is in like the games won that day, like we'll do sprints or suicides or spiders or whatever, and we'll do that. But then I've also got like 2 other conditioning days, and then 2 other days where I'm in the gym.
Okay.
In addition to just like recovery sprinkled here and there, like I'll stretch, every single day. And then there's some days where I'm going and, doing like cold plunging and hot tubs and all the different stuff. So it's a lot. Like it sounds like a lot as I'm listing it out.
Yeah.
But
you have to do those things if you
to.
want to be successful in the sport. I mean, that it all goes hand in hand. I saw you playing with Tyson McGuffin a few weeks ago. I saw it on your IG.
Yeah.
How long have you known him? How do you know him? Is he a good friend of yours?
I met Tyson at the Masters in January. So that was like my 3rd tournament. I went through the qualifying of singles in that event as well, and then had Big Dog Tyson first round rolled up. I was super excited that I got him actually, because I was like, oh, sick! Like get to play on a center court. That's normally what you do when you play like a 1 or a 2 seed, and he was a 2 seed at the time, and didn't get that. They put me on a random backcourt and was playing against him with like his entire mob of fans. And actually rolled up, won the first game, and lost to him in a tough 3-game match. And then afterwards, he was just like, "Dude, who are you?" Blah blah. Like, and just was super cool, really respectful. Like, was just like, "Hey man, like you're gonna be somebody really quick." So that was a cool thing. And then after that, I just had a good relationship with him in passing whenever I saw him at the tournaments and stuff like that. And then now whenever he comes in town, he normally tries to get like me or Pesa. Nico is another one of those guys to practice with. So whenever he's around, we'll always get with him and get some rec. But yeah, Tyson's a super crazy personable dude, man. Like it's really cool to see. Like he remembers like everybody's names that he comes in contact with, like not just pros, but like any guy that comes up and is like, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" and takes time with him, or any of the campers. Like he's crazy good with the campers. Like he'll remember, "Hey, you working on that dink shot?" And like it just stuff like that you're like, wow, like that's really cool to see. Like somebody who's like, maybe 1 or 2 most famous guys in pickleball and still like really down to earth with it, and doesn't forget like anybody that he comes across.
I think he's great. He was for Arizona Diamondbacks pickleball night, right? We were a co-sponsor of that event with Selkirk, right?
Yeah.
We both manufacture paddles. So Selkirk's on one side, and obviously he's he's Selkirk's premier guy. If maybe he isn't, but he's up there, right? So he made a point to come over to our booth, shake all of our hands, right? And it's different because some athletes, they won't even look at you. They won't talk to you, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not with Selkirk, so you're nobody.
Yeah.
And I don't particularly care for those types of athletes, but they're out there. I encounter it in softball. I already encountered it a little bit in pickleball. But he came right up into our booth, walked right into it, shook everyone's hand, said, keep doing what you're doing. Like, it's all love for the sport with that guy. And he just has a lot of passion. I thought it was neat. And then he threw out the first pitch. But you could tell right away what you're expressing.
Yeah.
He's a guy that certainly is loving what he's doing, and he's no better than anyone else. And that's a good trait.
Yeah,
right
it's refreshing to hear because he almost gives off the bad boy of pickleball persona.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's got the mullet, he's tatted up. He always looks swaggy though.
Yeah.
But it is refreshing to hear that. Circling back to the Arizona Pickleball League, sorry when I blacked out, did they find you, or was that something you reached out to them, you heard about the league, or how did that transpire?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually pretty much nobody at Jigsaw really knew kind of who I was or what to expect. So like you kind of, saying the same thing, like that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But I think it was like Kyle and Cimarron that were the ones that were like, hey, like Michael's one of those guys in Arizona, like you need to grab for this. So, I mean, shout out to both of them for suggesting that I even get on that. Cause if they don't throw my name out, like maybe I'm not even in the league, so. Yeah.
That's great. And they're filming that documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking with Ashley and Patrick earlier, and they said you're in that documentary a lot, right?
Yeah.
So what was your experience with that? That had to be neat to be a part of as well, right?
Yeah, that's super cool. And it's actually still going on. Like they're still grabbing a bunch of different stuff here and there. I actually went and grabbed like a beer with like the lead director, Cole, earlier this week. Super cool guy. But yeah, it's been really fun. I think it's been really cool for me because I don't think I've really ever had, I guess like a platform in anything else that I've ever done. Like tennis is, even if you like are going and playing Division I and stuff like I did, like there's not a lot of times you end up in front of a camera and get to tell your story. So it's been really cool with pickleball to have something as big as that, like a documentary that could get picked up and to be, I don't think I have like a full episode or anything like that, but I think like you said, like I'm in one of the episodes a lot. And that's just been really cool to just, answer questions about myself and basically tell my background. And hopefully there's people that, will relate to that or relate to parts of my story and either get involved in pickleball, or maybe they're sending it to a friend being like, hey, like, this Michael guy has the exact same vibe as you. Maybe you'll enjoy this. And maybe that can also, just be a really cool thing for me to show people like later on, show grandkids down the line, like, hey,
absolutely.
Yeah, I used to. Pop was in a documentary back in the day. He's not so lame like you thought. So that'll be cool. But yeah.
Favorite moment from the Arizona Pickleball League this year?
Man, it's tough. I mean, there's so many good things. I think like, I wouldn't say it's like this one moment, but I would say just kind of proving ourselves. I think there was a lot of people that may have doubted like the Pythons in general when you looked at us on paper. Like I know like we had like one of the lowest dupers or whatever combined. Somebody was telling me in the beginning of it. And I think I like really wanted to just kind of prove people wrong and individually, but as a team and for my teammates as well, like people that, didn't know who Jess Wilcox was, even though she's like an amazing player. One of like my first friends actually in pickleball. And so I thought like from the very beginning that we had like a really good chance at it. And I would say like the coolest thing was just like getting to the finals and like kind of massively outperforming everybody else's expectations. So that was really cool for us.
The duper and that ranking, it's still too new. I mean, so how accurate, it's interesting that he brings that up, right? We were out there Sunday, right, at the MLP, and there were players that were dominating players that on paper you would say that's not possible, right? There were players that were overperforming. There were players that underperforming. And my opinion is it's still so new to even, like in golf, we have a good understanding of people's handicaps, where they're going to be, betting on it. What's your thoughts on the ranking system? You think it still needs to take more time to prove out or get more accurate, or you feel that it's pretty straight?
I think it's like anything where it's just like it's all circumstantial. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like there's going to be like a Vivian Glassman that comes out of nowhere and plays in MLP and is a stud athlete, and her duper's probably not reflective of how good she is yet. You know what I mean? So there's like people like that who are, they just don't have enough data on yet for that to be accurate. You know, myself included probably in that, where like, okay, I've played like 11 tournaments now. Is that really like a big enough sample size for you to determine like how likely it is for me to, you know, get a game, win the match, whatever else it is? And I think Duper, like when it does have the right information, like when you look at how it's listed the top pros, it's extremely accurate.
Okay.
But I think especially from an amateur sense, like it still has a lot to work on, because like it's also like dependent on regions, things like that. Like we used to talk about like UTR in tennis is basically the same type of thing, like obviously different algorithms or whatever else that they need to change about it. But with UTR, we used to talk about like UTR pods is kind of what we nicknamed it, where it's like, oh, he's a UTR 12 here, but like if he was a 12 over here, that wouldn't actually be the case. And so I think it's probably similar with Duper at the current time. But, you know, I also just think like numbers are numbers. Like I'm a big basketball fan. You watch the NBA finals and like the Heat weren't even supposed to be there. Right. And they got there despite everything that Vegas was going to tell you. And so I just think it is what it is, and it'll continue to get more accurate. But it's something that, you know, as a pro player, like I'm not looking up Duper of like
right.
about to play and being like, oh my gosh, what's this?
Well, I just think it puts somebody like you at a disadvantage, because we're at this MLP tournament, and all I'm thinking about is like you can compete on one of those teams in the Challenger
100%.
Premier League.
100%.
So in the back of my head, I'm thinking that. So it's just interesting not seeing you being able to take the stage yet, just because you don't have the data, because skill wise you're good enough. So it was interesting to see that. Now, as far as how the leagues are organized, like the Arizona Pickleball League, similar to the MLP, but the PPA is like more individualized. Do you like, it kind of sounds like you like the team format better rather than doing like a PPA tournament?
Yeah, I think there would be a very small sample size of pickleball players right now that they would tell you that they would prefer to play PPA events versus an MLP. You know what I mean? And so like, I just think the team format's really cool. I think it's really interesting for the fan perspective as well. And so that's kind of the goal for me, is to like, I want to be a part of as many leagues as possible. Yeah. Like I would love for it to be, you know, possible where I get into the Challenger League here pretty soon. And then also still play like the Arizona Pickleball League. Like that's what I think is really cool. And I mean, to your point earlier about like feeling like, you know, I have the skill set, and I would actually absolutely agree with that. And it's tough because I also look at those teams, and it's not like I can look at any guy and be like, oh, he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
All those guys that have gotten it deserve it 100%. But there's definitely like, there's a couple of guys on some of those teams that I've played multiple times, never lost to.
And you're just as good.
Like
yeah, dude, I know that feeling. Yeah. I used to play football professionally, so you don't want to discredit anybody else's ability, but you also know deep down, like I'm the same skill level.
I'm there.
Talent. Yes.
100%.
Yeah. No, it's just time.
It's cool too, because like a lot of them like are my friends now, and I'm building up relationships. And it's also cool when like one of the local guys, or one of like the closer guys that you know gets a chance, like Pesa getting his shot. Yeah. That was really, really cool. And I can genuinely say like, I don't think there's a single guy in Arizona that was looking at that and being like, that should have been me. Like we were all immediately in the text chains being like, Pesa, go get it. Let's go. And like every single one of us was like tuning into, I watched every single match that Pesa played that weekend. And I'm just like cheering for our boy the entire time. That's awesome. And I think it's also cool because it's motivating for us as well. Like I see Pesa got his chance. That's more reassurance that I'm going to get mine. You know what I mean?
Charles and I talked about Pesa last week, and he's somebody I had watched in previous tournaments in the fall, and his development over time too. When he was playing in the league, it was night and day difference. I mean, he just seemed he's in his element now. So it was really exciting to see that.
Yeah, I think the league is also, like you said, it's been a developmental tool for a lot of us. I think me especially, just to like be in that high pressure situation where, you know, you've got a ton of people cheering for or against you, like all the time. There's going to be pressure, and
I might have cheered against you a
that's
few
totally
times.
fine.
Yeah, he did.
I'm not going to
I don't
lie.
know how we haven't gotten to that.
We're gonna look past that right now.
How have we not addressed that? The first time that we went to an Arizona Pickleball League event, it was together. You were with me. This is our first time there. Immediately fell in love, and I think it was the Pythons playing Surprise. I think it was Dill Patrick's team.
Yeah.
Scott Dill
Okay.
Patrick.
Yeah.
We've renamed him.
I
And
don't.
how the hell did Scott's name make it on another podcast?
I don't
Scott,
know.
You
This
know
is
Scott.
Yeah.
His name, he's come up on every damn podcast, and here he is again. And we said, let's not talk about Scott. We're giving him too much airtime.
And here we are.
I think,
doing that.
And go ahead and tell him right off the bat. He said, I said, this guy, first of all, Corey was with us, and you were out there practicing. You did a serve, and the thing went 7 feet to the left. And Corey goes, dude, there's not even any wind in here. How did he do that, right? And I said, this guy looks good. And you said, I don't know if I like
think
him.
I just wanted to hate you, to be completely honest. I don't know why. You're my age, or relatively close, I imagine, and just seeing you being so good, I might have been a little jealous. Okay, I'm a
You turned around.
I'm glad we turned you around a little bit.
But after watching you, I did. And also, I'm not going to lie, I have to say this. It was a combination of you and I just don't really like Ryan Teffer either. Treffer.
Dude,
so tell me he's a good guy. Tell me he's a good guy because, like,
such a cool guy. He literally just texted me before I got on here. He's like, "Yo, Lloyd, like, what are you doing? When's the next tournament? Blah, blah, blah." He's like the guy throughout the league. I swear, he was texting me like once a day, being like, "Michael Loyd, you're the man." Just like hyping me up. Like that's the type of dude he was. Like on our team, he was just in our group chat constantly, like talking about how much he loved all of us, and like Treff's just like a really, really good dude, and it was really cool to see throughout the league. Like I think. It like sparked his love for pickleball again. And I'm not saying like he didn't love pickleball, but like seeing him get on fire for pickleball the way he was throughout the league and the way he is continuing to be, I think that was a really, really cool thing.
Yeah, he reminded me of Ivan Drago from Rocky IV, just the blonde slick back, and I was just like, dude, you've seen Rocky IV.
No, you got
Bro,
none of the movie references.
So Charles and I were in San Clemente this weekend.
Yeah.
I made a Bane joke, saying this guy looks like Bane.
He uses. So I was raised by women. I haven't seen Batman. I haven't seen Star Wars. I haven't seen what's this other one? Rocky. I haven't seen these.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, I'm aware of.
Hey, yo, Adrian.
You got to stop using the movie references with me, unless it's fried green tomatoes or stuff that women would raise their son around.
Okay.
Oh my.
Now, no Rocky. So, but there's a pattern here of you not liking people initially. So it goes beyond Michael Loyd.
I think I have trust issues. I think I have a lot of issues I need to deal with on my own.
We can sit down and talk about that.
I would love to. Well, it's just being a former athlete. It's as soon as I stepped on the pickleball court, I was addicted. I was like, I want to get good at this. I'm tall. I'm lanky. I take up the whole court. My hand-eye coordination is just not good, though. Like as physically athletic as I am, my hand-eye coordination's terrible, and I'm just not good at it. So it's like when I see guys my age, I sometimes don't like them as much and root against them.
Well, I'm glad that there was some things that I took. I remember you guys were down, and I loved how you almost were single-handedly trying to bring your team back into the game, right? You're down 15 or whatever it is. It's a large amount. You're running out of time. And you switched into another gear where you're like, okay, I'm just going to, on every shot, I'm going to try to beat them on every shot. And obviously that's hard to do in pickleball. It really is. But I saw that fire that was ignited. And immediately I go over to some of my friends. I say, hey, I need to sign him. I need to sign him right now. This guy's great. And they said, well, he actually works for a company. And I said, okay, can we buy the company? And that actually is a little big. It's a big company he works for. It's decently sized. I said, okay, so yeah, but that's I was very impressed. I fell in love with the pickleball league, with the Arizona Pickleball League. It's great, and I love the relationship that I've developed with Scott and Patrick and Ashley. And I'm glad we're doing some things with them in season 2. Just a little teaser. But I'm excited to be a part of that. I fell more in love with the sport just being in that small venue with you guys. It was something special to watch. Yeah. It really was.
Do you like the loud crowd? Like, do you?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like, there's so many times where, like, there was somebody, it was like, kind of tough because we obviously switch sides, like, depending on, if you play mix 1 or mix 2 or all this other stuff. And it was tough for me to pick because like I really liked being on like the far side away from the crowd, because then I could serve people into the stands or into the back section depending on the different spins that I use. But then it was also really nice like for me to be next to the crowd and like having them chirping in my ears, and like I love that
And
stuff.
that motivates you?
Yeah, it motivates me so much. There's this you can go back and watch. It's super funny because I had a friend like
It's probably me talking smack.
But there was like a girl as we were playing the Gladiators in the like semis of playoffs, and she just says something to me, and I hear it, and I don't even remember what it was, dude. Like I kind of like black out like in those moments, but she said something to me. I know she's just chirping at me, and then the very next play, like I lace one down the line and I just look at her and I just like said it. And then she says something to me again. I didn't do anything. I just looked at her. And then I hit another winner like up the middle, and I just turned to her and I was like, I'm not the one, I promise. Like, and then she just kept chirping at me. It was like 5 points in a row, and I called the timeout, and I just turned back to her and I just walked back to the bench. And it was just like a super, super funny moment. But like, yeah, when somebody's like in my ear chirping at me, like that's when I thrive. And like, that's exactly what college tennis was. You got like all the fans or the guys like on the bench or whatever. They're the ones that are like right behind you, like talking about your mom, talking about your girlfriend, saying random stuff to you.
Yeah.
And that's the type of stuff that like I just feed off of.
Yeah, I just black out when I do podcasts. Well, you can't hate me then, because I was motivating you to be a better athlete.
You helped me, dude.
Yeah.
That's right.
You should be thanking me right
I mean,
now.
I'll send you a card.
I appreciate that after this. Now, one random question I have, but if I don't say it now, I've been wanting to ask people this the last 3 podcasts. When you guys are serving, everyone's holding their hands behind their back and giving it always looks like a 5 signal.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anybody do a different number.
So
what are we doing?
It's not numbers. It's just like open hand is just like we're gonna switch. Closed hand means we're gonna stay, and then a fake. Like if I'm doing it in between, and that's what a fake is. So it's like I'm gonna fake like I'm gonna switch, and then I'm gonna go back to my spot, and that's from tennis. And then
I thought this was a baseball thing. I thought you guys were trying to call the serves or something.
You can also do that. So like sometimes I will with partners. Like I'll point to the different spots. So like a thumb will be like I want you to go like left and then right, and then you can just put 2 fingers down the middle for like I just want you to go straight up the middle on a return.
How long is it until someone's behind them giving signals to the other team?
I mean, people don't do it in tennis, so like I think like nobody is gonna like give away the signals behind in tennis. Plus, like you're normally just flashing it like right before they're about to hit it. So it's real quick. You know, I won't say that it'll never happen, because who knows how big pickleball will get once betting's involved and all other stuff.
Absolutely.
Once betting is involved, it'll blow up. Now, I'm guessing I have the answer to this, but do you prefer doubles then over singles?
So it's really tough for me. I play all 3 events whenever I go to the tournaments.
Yeah.
I would say mix is probably my favorite, just because it's kind of a combination in between singles and men's doubles. Like the singles is obviously like you're crazy aggressive, like very physical, like you're trying to speed up balls, whether you're from the baseline or at the net. Men's doubles is obviously a little bit slower. You're dropping more. It's a little bit more strategy. Mixed is somewhere kind of in the middle. You're still being strategic, but a lot of times it's the guy's role to just go in there and be a wrecking ball. And I think that's something that I really enjoy, and a role that I excel in is just like taking up as much court, using both like my speed side to side laterally as well as like my hand speed, and just kind of creating. And that's a space
and
that
knowing
I really
you
enjoy.
have somebody else with you,
just
in case.
It's like singles with a partner. Like it's like singles with some backup. And so it's like I'm doing the same thing, and I'm pretty like clear headed in mix, because like that's where honestly my role is so clearly defined, versus like men's doubles. There's a lot of intricacies and nuances. Singles also, like there's patterns and stuff that you have to like really get into in terms of your passes and your returns. Mixed a lot of times is like see ball, hit ball, and go from there.
How hard is it to work with somebody else as a doubles partner? Because I feel like these athletes, they just go to these tournaments and they haven't really played with each other much before. Is that accurate? Or
I'd say like for a lot of people, like they're just going from tournament to tournament, and like maybe sometimes they know their partner, maybe they don't. Like they know who they are, but like maybe they're not like actually practicing with them.
But most of it takes place at the tournaments, right?
Right. For me, I've played a majority of my tournaments with Kyle and Nico, so I've had like the advantage of just being able to practice with them here, talk about things, call them, and like I can show you notes that I have where like Nico, I have all of his strengths and weaknesses down and my strengths and weaknesses and how they play into each other. And I have the same notes with Kyle. And so that's like a big advantage, I think, about like when you're coming up together. And then there's like the next jump when you're starting to get like better partners and like maybe they are in a different state and like it's like a challenger level MLP player that hits you up. And then you're like, oh, like this would be really good to play with them. And you start to just kind of play rec at the tournaments and get used to one another there. Or sometimes it's like literally like, okay, we've never played together, but we've played against each other. So we do know some stuff. Like that's how it is with my mixed partner at the next event, Jenna Hezert. Haven't ever played with her on the same side of the court, never even played a rec game with her, but I've played her multiple times and in rec, in tournaments, I'm familiar with her game. I'm familiar with her strengths. And like, we just talked about it, like going into it, we're like, okay, like we both play singles on Thursday. We'll play Thursday, hopefully, have long days and get to, play as much singles as possible. And then at the end of Thursday, whenever we're both done, like you'll just get together, talk, get some rec games in, and then get ready for the next day.
Now, are you locked in with a partner just per tournament, or is it? I have no idea how that works contractually.
Yeah, it's different with. There's no like contractual obligation.
Okay,
but like it just depends on like how you want to do it. Like a lot of the top pros, they book out their events for the entire year, so they know exactly who they're going to play with on January 1st and probably before. All the way through December 31st, right? For me as a guy who's like, I feel like I'm like on like kind of a quick trajectory where I'm growing, and I don't want to like latch on to somebody. And also like it's tough like with work as well, where like I can't really realistically book out a tournament 7 months in advance and like know that I'm going to have like the PTO and everything off for that. So for me, I normally try to like handle things like 2 months at a time and like have my partners booked out accordingly and just go from there. With Nico and I, we like scheduled like, I think it was like 3 months at a time. And then like we just kind of kept tacking on. And then now we like have this next tournament together. And then there's some that he couldn't go to. So I booked with other players like Rob Cassidy I'm going to play with coming up. And then Pesa I'm going to play with coming up. And so then you just kind of put your schedule together like that.
Did I hear PTO? Like you're going out using their product to go sell a ton of it.
Marketing.
Like PTO, they should be paying you to go out to these.
I mean, like my company supports me like super well, and like we like I won't get into like the details of like the full agreement and stuff like that, but like some tournaments I'm there for work, and so like I'm there to like talk with like some of the agents, talk with pros, scout for our brand and stuff like that, and so they're really cool about like, okay, you're there, go play a tournament, like and it's cool like that. And so awesome. I just mean like it's tough for me to know like 6 months out in advance, like if I'm gonna have the time off, if there's not going to be meetings and all this other stuff like coming up during that time period. So normally like I've just talked to like my supervisors, and they're really cool about like if I tell them like, hey, like I need to book this out a little bit further, like it's a 3-month deal and I have a good partner to play with and it's a good opportunity, they're like, yeah, like that's cool, as long as it kind of makes sense for the brand as well.
Yeah, there's gotta be some drama with that. Do people get offended if you leave, or have you heard of people getting offended when somebody's like, yo, I can't play with you this tournament, and then maybe never again?
Oh, you mean in terms of like,
oh yeah, like in terms of partners, because like
that has to happen.
Like you said, you're not locking down to anyone because you're growing exponentially, but I imagine people, I mean, my feelings would be hurt. I don't know.
I mean, I think like it just makes a lot of sense for like, I've talked to a lot of the same guys in my sort of level, and they're like, yeah, it makes sense. And even my friends, it's just like, we could grow at the exact same rate, but then all of a sudden, like my style goes in one direction, your style goes in another direction. It doesn't make sense for us to play together anymore.
Yeah.
And I've had that conversation before. And so it's like, that's totally fine. And I think, I'm going to handle that as cordially as possible too, whether I'm saying it to somebody or they're saying it to me. And I think, there's definitely people that don't handle it the right way, but I think it's just like anything. Like if you move about with respect and
for the most part, it's understood
in
the industry. Like, hey, this is the deal
for sure. And I mean, there's been a ton of times where like somebody's hit me up and they've been like, hey, like, do you want to play this tournament? And I'm like, oh, like, sorry, I already locked in with another person. And like, they're like, okay, cool. And then like same thing, like for me, like you hit up somebody and they're like talked about playing it with you. And then like, if they let you know, like in a reasonable amount of time, like, oh, like, I actually like, I got this partner, it's a sick opportunity for me. Like, and we didn't lock it in, like, and I'm like, yeah, like go do your thing. I think it's just like about like moving it with respect. There's so many stories though, like horror stories where people are like, playing a tournament. It's locked in. They're both signed up together. They've both paid their money and everything like that. And then like, you know, one of the guys will come to the other and be like, yo, like this top player came to me and I know it's a week before the deadline, but his partner is sick or something. And then like
COVID.
Yeah, COVID. Yeah. I was about to say it, but yeah. I mean, when's the last time I actually was like, dude, that's the first time I thought about COVID.
Yeah, in a while. Yeah.
But anyways, like my partner is sick, and then like it's a good opportunity for them to like grab that. And so like that's where it gets a little bit more like gray, you know what I mean? Because it's like a week before and you're gonna leave your partner hanging. Like I've actually had some instances where like I could have gotten like a better partner had I bailed on my partner. But I was like, you know, it's 2 weeks before the tournament. I don't feel comfortable leaving my partner hanging. Let me know.
And you're going to see them again and again and again at every other tournament.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But there's also tons more tournaments, right? Like if that person really wanted to play with me and I really deserve to play with them, like that's going to come back around. You know what I mean? I'm not super worried. Like there's more tournaments, more opportunities, more players. I, you know, would like to handle things as best as possible on my end and not leave anybody, you know, out there to dry, but it's going to happen and different people are going to have different feelings about it. And I think it's also a business, right? For some people, like, you know, we do make money off of this, whether it's through your sponsors or through prize money and stuff like that. And so I think there's got to be a healthy understanding of like respecting one another, but also like, you know, don't get too butthurt over pickleball. You know?
Totally agree.
Would you say for somebody in your position, is more of the money made from tournament play or sponsorships?
I would say definitely sponsorships. Right?
Okay.
It's like sponsorships, and then because it's not just like one sponsorship, just like rolling
Dishing it out,
like,
yeah.
being like, oh, sick, like we're gonna pay you to live and play pickleball, right? Like you have to like find different things. And I think it's also for a lot of people that like aren't in my position and like working within a pickleball company, it's a lot more coaching. It's a lot more like camps and clinics and things like that. Maybe it's working with like social media brands and stuff like that. For me, like I do coach, and that's one like point of revenue for me in addition to like prize money or the Arizona Pickleball League or the sponsors and stuff like that. But yeah, I think up until like you're, you know, really like a touring pro that's playing every event and is signed with the PPA or, you know, contracted with the APP, like a healthy amount of your prize money or a healthy amount of your salary is coming from sponsors and coaching versus like the actual prize money so far. Although Irina Tereshchenko would probably disagree because she keeps winning that money.
Yeah, if you keep winning, then, I mean, some of these prize packages are pretty good.
Yeah.
And they're only going to grow. And it's exciting to see Michael. We need to bring Michael back in 6 months. I mean, he's at the beginning of.
He's not going to want to come back in 6 months. I'm not going to be here in 6 months.
No, we will definitely have you replaced by then.
Yeah.
But no, come back. I mean, it's an exciting time for you. It's an exciting time for the sport. The sport is at its infancy as well. I mean, it's hard to say because how big it already is, but just to see where this is in a couple of years is going to be fascinating as this growth continues, because people are experiencing what just took place this last weekend in San Clemente. They're experiencing what's taking place every Tuesday night, and you can feel that. It's fun.
So what do you like, obviously as a fan, like you have your opinion, but then also like, what do you hear from like other people? Like I'll ask you the question, I guess, like when you're at those events, cause like I don't really get to see that, you know what I mean? Like I'm, when I'm at a PPA, like I'm, you know, running from court to court, playing my matches. Like I don't really sit down as much and like get to hear what other people are saying, like watching the pros and things like that.
Well, I mean,
Or
what a
Tuesday
great question.
night.
That's an awesome question, because you're right. You're on the other side of things. And even in your daytime job, you're still on the other side of things, right? Like doing the grassroots. I can tell you this from my experience. I went the first time with 3 individuals, myself, Rizzo, you. All 3 of us fell in love. And then I started bringing, the amount of people I started bringing to Tuesday night was increasing.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then I wanted to get their feedback on it. Right. Am I just drunk on this? Am I just because I'm in the industry?
We went from 3 people to booking out the whole court side.
Well, so your coach Amy, right? So I called her to tickets, and I said, can I get some? You know, and let this be noticed, right? The tickets went on sale at 5. They were sold out at like 5:08.
Right.
And I called Amy. I said, Amy, I'd like to get a bunch of tickets. She said, how much do you want? I said, I'll take all of them. She's like, well, I mean, we can't do that. But I kept growing, and we sat in different places, right? And each time I would bring someone different.
Right.
And except for Brant, you came every time, and Gage. We couldn't shake Gage. He's like,
he just kind of forced himself.
we love Gage. But all right, so to answer your question, right? So the others confirmed what I had felt, right? It's a special sports experience. My buddy Todd, who was business partners with Scott, they have courtside Suns tickets. His wife, when she left, she said, "That's the best sporting event I've been to. They go to the Suns game and sit courtside." Yeah. She enjoyed that more. And then for each person that I had brought, which in totality, I think I brought 25 different people to each of the events. And the consensus was, I love that. Yeah. I can't wait to go back. And then, for example, in San Clemente I brought different people out to that. My sister came out, blast, right? And she's been to Wimbledon, right? She's been to the French Open, right? Okay. She goes to Europe a lot, and she felt more connected with this and had so much more of an enjoyable time for this. And that's my sentiment as well. What did I do?
Compare Arizona Pickleball League
to Wimbledon, to the French Open. I did. Well, I'm answering this question.
That might be.
I'm not comparing that. Yes. There's other people listening saying, "Oh, this guy's nuts." I'm talking about my sister's experience, right? Yeah. The people that are going to these events, she enjoyed that more. The energy is more intimate. Yeah. Isn't it? Right. Okay.
That's the word I was going to use.
The energy is more intimate. The experience for the people I've brought is they love watching it. Yeah. You can identify with the players more. The game is smaller, but still intense. Right. Right. Tennis is a big game. You are doing this the entire time, and this you kind of feel like you're in the middle of the action a little bit more so.
Yeah. It's new. It's raw. And it's season one. It kind of feels like you're a part of something, whereas a spectator anywhere else, it's just, we're at another game. This feels like we were at the start of something special. Yeah. So I really liked Arizona Pickleball League. I'm just stealing your...
well, and what did I say? It's better than the Phoenix Suns. It's better than the Wimbledon. It's better than the French Open.
It's better than the Super Bowl.
These are buy stock now.
These are quotes from just regular people that have been attending those, right? So there's a magic to it. There's a magic to the Tuesday night pickleball. There is. Yeah, There's no denying that.
I think it's just like a big thing, like you said, like connected, intimate. Like people can, relate to what's happening on the pickleball court way more intimately than they can like watching the Suns, right? Like you can't go and throw down a 360 windmill, but you can hit dinks and drives. And you can do that stuff. And then seeing it at the highest level, I think is, really, really cool. And I think, maybe that's why pickleball is like starting to grow and have that success, is that relatability, the fact that like it's so accessible to everyone, and you can all pick something up from all these pro matches.
So true. I mean, it fits. You can play it from ages 8 to 88.
Right.
It's all the same paddle. It's all the same ball. It's the same court. There's something to that, and that's the magic is there for sure.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think going back before. Like, I think the Arizona Pickleball League is special. I'm just going to say what I don't like. Not a big fan of the APP tournaments. The fans are dead. Everything just seems dead. Mm-hmm. PPA is a little more lively. And then I think Arizona Pickleball League and then the MLP kind of seems like a bigger version right now of the Arizona Pickleball League. That's my observations, because I like energy in a stadium. As a former athlete, it's like, okay, I want to, like what you said, I want people chirping at me. And I think the Arizona Pickleball League and the MLP does a good job. Guys, I have a phone stand that records to your face.
I was hoping it was going to capture my face, move off of you. The viewers will come back.
Yeah. Hey, we had a good amount in here today.
That's great.
We're at 5 right now, but we had a good amount earlier. But anyways, I think what the Arizona Pickleball League is doing is only going to continue to get popularity with the players and also the fans, because as a fan, it's just, you want to see that. And I know there were some older gentlemen behind me at one of the Arizona games, and I think it was literally during your match. You guys were driving the ball a lot. Yeah. And obviously that's advantageous because it's really hard to hit. Right. But then you guys slowed it down and turned into dinking. And 2 different times this happened in the match. each time these old guys,
Hey, I remember that.
they were like 85 and like, now this is pickleball.
Now they're finally playing pickleball.
They were just like so annoyed at everything else. And then the 2 times you guys were dinking, they're like, now this is what it's about.
Well, the game's evolving as well.
100%.
And the more tennis players come over, the more it's going to be a power and drive game. And I mean, you've already seen that, and we see it in Michael when he was playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I watched like 2 like really good friends of mine play in the last like PPA in San Clemente, and then they kind of lost to 2 guys that were just like ripping and banging balls and just like playing tennis out there. And I think like my friend was like, "Oh, like this is not pickleball," and I think his partner was the one that was like, "It is now."
Yeah, it is.
It's
absolutely
coming.
is.
Yeah,
Like,
I just think there's more opportunity with
Yeah.
pickleball. It's like, why not convert and then excel in an upcoming market that's currently exploding?
They're
Like,
going to be coming over more and more. Like some of my friends that have been total holdouts saying, I'll never have that in my hand, have it in their hand. And now they say, I really don't want to play tennis anymore.
Yeah.
No knock on tennis, but there was a wall that you come from that world. There was a wall that some tennis players said they would never cross.
Right, yeah.
Like they looked at it in almost disdain, like, okay, I'm a real man. I play sports.
Yeah.
Right. Not this. Right?
Yeah.
But now they're starting to say, okay, this is not only a lot of fun. It also, I think that's also why we see some ex-professional athletes coming over. Right. They miss that competitiveness, and you can't get that out of, I don't care how many rounds of golf they play. No knock on golf, but there is a competitive fire that's in this sport as well. Even at the highest levels of, with men and women that compete at the highest levels in baseball or football.
Yeah.
It's a very competitive sport. And the tennis guys are figuring that out too.
Yeah. I think it's just cool because like back to the word intimate. It's intimate on court. Like, you and 3 buddies are playing. You're 15 feet away from them. You hit a good shot, you're yelling in their face. You're talking trash. You know what I mean? And so like that's a cool thing that I think gets people more fired up than around a golf or whatever else that you do like after you retire from like a professional sport. But yeah, I think there's going to be more and more athletes coming in, especially from tennis and all the different types of racket sports background, and we're going to see the game played in a number of different ways. It's not going to be just this one size fits all game like I think it used to be maybe 5 years ago. And I've gone back and watched all the old highlights. So you can see the guys that are still playing now, their game is completely transformed in order for them to stay relevant, right? And I think that's, hats off to them to be able to adapt in that way. But we're going to have to continue to adapt. I'm going to have to adapt in 5 years or, along this 5 years. Like it's not going to be the exact same. And I think, obviously, as you and I know, like as equipment continues to develop and parameters change within, the guidelines that we have to follow, that too will change the game itself. And so it'll be really cool to see what it does. I would love to see borders get pushed, and I think that's only gonna make the sport more entertaining, more athletic, and more exciting for the fans.
Future aspirations for we're running short on time. I cannot talk today. Dude, I'm like not okay.
All right, try that again.
Future aspirations. Aspirations is a tough word to say though. Future aspirations for you. We're running short on time.
Okay. So I would say the number one goal for me would probably to be first to make it onto an MLP team.
Yeah.
And then, make it to the premier level while still, like I said, getting to play as much league stuff as possible. As Arizona Pickleball League, I hope that blows up, and I hope I get to do, multiple things at once. And then, be one of the best players in the world in all 3 categories. I really like all 3 events. I think they demand a different sort of strategy, and they're all really different sports in their own right. So I'd love to be at the top of all those. And I think lastly would just be like more of a personal thing for me, but like I would love to hopefully like build up a platform and then be remembered for more than just pickleball, but hopefully as a guy people like when they see for the first time, or people think about, like I'm a very like religious guy as well, like devout Christian, and like spend a lot of time in church and stuff like that. So I'd love to use my platform to talk about Christ, and then be an image of him and have people think about that as well when they think about me, and not just the big forehand or the big serve turning 7 feet one direction or anything like that. But those I think would be at the forefront of all my goals. And
No, that's awesome. According to pickleballtournaments.com, though, you are ranked number 9 as a men's single and number 47 as a men's double. So just keep that in mind.
We'll get it up.
Michael Loyd, everyone. I did not like him at first, I'll admit, but I love him now. I would kiss him if I could. I blacked out a few times today. Charles saved me. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, Michael. I appreciate you coming on here. Everyone, the episodes are dropping, baby. We got a new logo. We're looking official. Dinking around. They even added some gray hairs for Charles. They made me
edit those
look worse. I told them to do that to make Charles feel better about himself. Any questions, reach out to me. I started a Gmail, baby. We are official like a pickle. That didn't make any sense. Dinking around podcast at gmail.com. Michael, thanks again. Appreciate you.